Folks, we are back. The Breakdown. Your boy Wade, your boy Sensei.
Ooh,
What's up, my brother? How you doing?
Doing great. My hips are feeling fantastic.
We just got off a massive live stream that I unfortunately did not, I forgot to put on the Breakdown. Well, we had some issues putting it on the Breakdown channel, but just know that we are going to be live streaming so much more on the Breakdown because we had such a good time.
Yes.
Such a good time. We're going to get into exactly what we were live streaming and what it means for influencer boxing in a second. But Sensei, yesterday, as the time of recording, was UFC 282.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt we needed to talk about something right away. We need to get this shit done right now. And that is, there's a problem in combat sports right now. It's a big, big issue. And we always talk about it, but we never, as a community or as anyone, do anything about it, and that is combat sports judging, and it was on full display once again Saturday night.
All the time.
It's all the time. We all bitch and complain and moan about it, but no one does anything, and here we are faced with it again, and it was two fights, the main event of UFC 282 being, and people have said it's not controversial, this could have happened, that, no, it was the wrong decision being called a split draw between Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz. Was the wrong call. Ankalaev won that fight. It is what it is. It was a flat-out bad call. But the worst one of the nights was featuring who has become the most controversial figure, apparently, in the UFC, Paddy the Baddy and Jared Gordon. Another flat-out fucking blown call.
It happens in too many gray areas in the judging, in the rule set. Too many
That's what
grays.
I want to talk about. Not only... We'll talk about the Paddy fight and Jared in more detail, but what is going on in combat sports judging, and why can't we get it right? What's going on?
It's not specific enough. You can lean. You can find your way into explaining a win for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, we see it in boxing, right? We see it in MMA when it comes to with words like aggression and control and effective striking,
damage, these things
right.
We need to be
damage, right. There's so much gray area, and there's so much up for the judge's point of view, and also the other part of it is we don't know. It's the secret crap, dude. That's the other part of it. At least if we knew, at least we would get a different approach, because everyone tries to assume maybe you're winning the round, maybe you're not.
Are you a fan of open scoring? Is that what you're saying? You're a fan of like in between rounds going?
Yes.
Here's the because in every other sport we have it.
Listen, if you're playing basketball, right, and there's a foul, you know why they fouled you. They're not like, we keep it a secret. Who blew the whistle? Why?
Right.
Because then you can tell, okay, the refs they're calling this or they're not calling this, so we change our approach. We know how the game is going to be called. So if you can understand at least how the judges are going to be, we can understand their point of view. Not say we're going to challenge them, but we can understand how they're viewing the takedowns, how they're viewing the cage control, how they're viewing the striking in comparison to the control on the mat, right? You can be like, okay, this judge is leaning towards this. He gave him that round. Why can't let that happen again? Because you'll have guys who are wrestlers who think they're winning and then maintain that approach, or you have strikers who think they're fine.
Yeah.
And you get this just... Even the commentators, the people at home, there's confusion. We're constantly saying, we don't know how the judge is going to score this. We don't know how the judge is going to score that. That happens every fight, boxing or MMA. Open scoring and more specific, more black and white type scoring rules, I would say, or system. It's got to happen, man. It's so redundant and it's so annoying.
It's frustrating, man. It is, because... we can go back to Saturday and talk about the Paddy Pimblett fight. And yes, open scoring has its benefits, and I'm on board with open scoring, but I also see the other side of it where people are like, listen, it artificially influences the way a fighter fights. So you're taking an outside source and making a fighter fight in a way that's maybe not what he would do had he not known. Okay, now I'm down.
I don't understand that. You're playing a game. You're playing a sport.
I get it.
You should know the
score. You got
to
be able to change. I get it. You have to be able.
Imagine playing a game like basketball, bro. It's 98 to 86.
Yeah.
No one's gonna keep track.
Right.
Are we winning?
Hope that we're
Do
winning.
we need a 3-pointer or a 2-pointer? Yeah, you
Right.
should know if you need a 3 or 2 because then you got to take a 3, bro.
Right.
Or you got to go in and get fouled. We're not just
Right.
doing it. A lot of guys out there is random. Am I winning? Am I not? Oh, I don't know.
Like I said, I've been a fan of the idea of open scoring for forever now, and in MMA specifically, and I'm going to talk about the Paddy fight again specifically. Paddy came into this weekend as, before the whole aerial thing, a superstar, a begrudging superstar, right? He was coming into this fight versus Jared Gordon as a guy that they look at to move the needle. Maybe not like a Conor McGregor, but in that same light. That's what the UFC clearly thinks of him, right? He's doing the stuff with Dana. He's doing Fuck It Friday videos, or he's eating and doing the whole thing. But then the aerial clapped back on him, 10-7'd his ass, and Paddy didn't come out looking great there. So when we get to the fight, Paddy, I don't think he gave a shit. He's coming out and fighting, whatever. But when we get to the fight, what we realized, like regardless of what the decision said, what we realized is that Paddy is not Conor McGregor. He's not the next coming of him.
No.
He's not on that level skill-wise, and we will maybe never see another. Like, Conor was a unicorn. He had what Paddy somewhat has, but I wouldn't say to near the same level that Conor did, and he had skill that was unparalleled, and we had talked about this off camera. He was in a perfect situation, in a perfect division for him to rise like a meteor, right?
Yep.
So when Paddy gets
into
this fight,
45, right? Yeah,
he was at 45, and that was his division to run through, essentially. And even there were some fights that were tough, and people were like, nah, he's not going to beat Chad Mendez, not going to beat Jose Aldo. And he did that. He proved it, But Paddy had a fight this weekend. That was a test, for sure. Jared Gordon, tough guy, 19-5. We're not talking about the top 15. We're not talking about the top 10. And Paddy struggled here with the same things that he always struggles with: his chin high, his striking lax, and quite frankly, being beaten in all aspects of MMA. Now we get to the third round, and Jared Gordon knows, or at least thinks, he's up 2-0. Possibly 1-1, but it looked like Jared was up 2-0. And he decides to go 5 minutes of grappling, which at this point we know means that nothing, almost, right? It like, you control with no offense, you control in the cage with no effective striking, like all the words that we know, damage, whatever, it means essentially nothing. Even though you are the one controlling an individual on the cage, impetus is on Paddy to get off the cage and do something about it.
Right.
You're being held on the cage. You don't win fights by being held on the cage against your will. Anyway, judging scorecards come out. Paddy wins a unanimous decision after what looked like losing at least 2 of 3 rounds. You could say all 3.
See what I'm saying? Open scoring. He wouldn't have fought the last round the same way.
And that's the thing. You hear Dana White come out in the post-fight presser and say it was a terrible strategy from Jared Gordon. Terrible. He should have went out there and tried to finish. Don't leave it in the judge's hands. How does he know? In his mind,
that's what I'm saying, bro. Gotta know the score.
He is, and you have Paddy on the other side screaming, "Fight of the night! I beat him in all 3 rounds." And I'm looking at Paddy like either you're delusional or you truly don't know. No one knows how the scoring works, because you could look at Paddy, even though he's made himself look kind of like a people are not rocking with Paddy like they were. But you could look at him and say, damn, he might actually think he was winning those rounds based on what he thinks the scoring criteria is. Right? You could think, okay, he values damage. They say damage is king. He might actually think he's winning these rounds. And
we're all guessing out here.
No one knows, dude. No one fucking knows. And this is the problem that I have with our sport. And it happens in boxing too. But MMA, the scoring basis was basically cherry-picked from boxing. A 10-point scoring system with
the 10-point
judge
must.
use. It was picked. And we still abide by it. And then we have the unified rules versus the commissions that don't adopt the unified rules. What we need is a revamp across the board. I don't care if you go and get Big John McCarthy again. I don't care who you go and get to explain this to commissions at one linear meeting, but they need to reset these rules, and we need to have competent judging.
Yeah.
There's another reason that this is not going well. Vegas is notorious for it. Texas is the same way. New York doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. We need to have a congruent, this is the rule set. And again,
MMA's behind.
We're behind on the game. It's just frustrating because the sport has evolved so quickly, and the rule set is the one big glaring issue.
But even with
back.
Open scoring, though, let's say you didn't change the rules just yet, but you started with open scoring. If you look at Taekwondo, karate, wrestling, jiu-jitsu,
it's all there.
Everybody knows the score.
It's all there.
So it's black and white. So it's out there. So I guess you have the worst thing you get is like stalling. But again, it's up to the person to try to come back and get that 1 point ahead.
I don't know this to be true, but am I dreaming things that Dana is not a big fan of open scoring?
Well, he might not because he's a boxing guy. You know what I'm saying? And boxing is that's where it came from. This secretive stuff. I don't know the history on it. I don't know the history on why do they not want the, like there's some sort of history behind.
This is Dana's quote from January 1st, January 6th, 2021. If a guy knows he's up 2 rounds and you're a professional fighter, you can absolutely stay away from a guy for the entire round and make the fight completely horrible. If you already know you got 2 rounds in the bag, guarantee if you saw you're up on the score, all you have to do is stay away from the guy for the next 5 minutes. That's going to lead to a lot of bad third rounds.
This isn't every sport ever, dude.
Well,
every basketball,
here's the thing that Dana's
football.
not taking into account. That cage is not. It's not an open field, and there's another guy on the across the ring that knows that he's down 2 rounds.
That's the thing I'm talking about. Yeah, he knows he's down 2. So guess what?
He's got to come get it.
Think about what Woodley did with Jake. He thought he was up. If he knows he's down, maybe we get Woodley just raw.
It's a different fight,
right? And then maybe you get a 10-8. Maybe you get a swing round because all of a sudden the dude's not doing anything and he becomes super tentative. But if you're not sure, you just kind of hang in the mix. And then what you see is the last 30 seconds of a fight, the guy like kind of go back and forth. When we're watching, you got to get the knockout. You got to get the knockout. He thinks he can just go back and forth and maybe he thought he won the round.
That's what I'm saying.
He needs a KO.
Like Dana goes on to say,
you need a KO?
Yeah. He's like, Dana's always talking about it's never going to be perfect. Don't leave it in the hands of the judges. This is going to give you that opportunity to not leave it in the hands of the judges. Like, in my opinion, this gives you a better opportunity to not do that. Again,
there should not be any guessing when the fight ends.
The guessing leads to it.
Know who won.
How many times do we hear a fighter go to their corner and go, "Am I up? Am I down? How am I doing?" And the coaches have they have a limited time to try to tell them, give them instruction, let alone try to tell them if they're up or down. You know what I mean?
It's so odd because if you wait, talking about it right now, remembering my fight with Kenny, when you're fighting or like sparring, you're taking like mental notes of how you're doing.
Yeah.
It's just like in basketball, like you're keeping score. Oh, 7-8, like I'm up by 2.
Yeah.
And you feel like, okay, you're up or you're down, and you don't know, like there's this whole game going on, like dailies, like take the center of the ring, and coach is like, dude, they may be looking at it this way. Like you get this whole guessing game. Then we have to play this game of proving to the judges that you're trying to look better or something.
You're trying to do what they want you to do subjectively.
And it's a guess. At least if you know, and just to me in a sport, every sport there is. The only thing where it's not, I guess, is like a dance competition, like gymnastics in the Olympic. Like when you do like a performance and then they give you the score at the end, but they still give you the score at the end and you know it. It's not like you don't know who's going to win. Like after you're done.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I don't get it.
The thing, I get the other side of the argument. I know what Dana's saying, and I know what people are going to say. You shouldn't be fighting in a way that pleases the judges. You should be fighting to win. You should be fighting to stop it before it gets there. You should be fighting in your best talent skill. I get that. But the problem is, if you're doing what you think the judges value most anyway, without knowing, but you now found out, okay, it's a close round. I didn't win that one. Why didn't I win it? Oh, maybe it was because he took the center of the ring. Maybe it was because my volume wasn't the same as his damage. Like,
you know what you're never going to get, which we get all the time, is 2 guys both thinking they're winning and not pushing the envelope because they think and they both just stall each other out. That happens way more often than the latter. And I'd rather never have that because what you do is you get some guys, I think it was Pacquiao or one of them recently, or a boxer, they think they're going to win. So they're not pushing the envelope. So both guys think they're winning. So they're both just kind of just chilling. Yeah. At least one guy has to fight from behind. One person should be fighting like he's going to lose.
Exactly. 100%. And that can turn the fight. And then you have, okay, now I got to get back. Like, I know one of the big things that too some people value is that big moment at the end of fights. Here's the decision. Okay, what's going to happen? When we get this big, reaction. But
that can still, worth it, right?
I was going to say that can still give the same gratification with the end new. It will lead to closer fights, in my opinion. Like you could get going into that 5th round a 2-2 fight, a legitimate 2-2 fight, and then you'll see that 5th round be one of the best 5th rounds. I disagree with Dana here, man. I think that these third and fifth rounds could be some of the best we ever see because of this.
Yeah, think just based off what you said, the whole and new.
Right.
Does that, when that happens, if it's a close fight, right? Typically, you're like, okay, it could go either way.
Exactly.
So you're like, okay, this guy got it or this guy had it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like a landslide and you're shocked, that's not a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing to be.
It becomes worse.
It's not a good
and
thing
more
to
often
feel
than
that
not,
what we
it's a
felt
negative.
Yeah.
I feel like more often than not, it's a negative. It's like, what?
It's not like last night was that.
You shouldn't have that.
Last night was that. And it's not a good feeling as a fan to sit up and pay for the event and to watch two guys go in there and leave it all. Dude, Ankalaev had no legs left and he was winning that fight. To watch that happen to him, and he even said it in the ring, he's like, I don't know if I'm going to fight for this promotion. Not that the UFC hires the judges, but still, it's just the look of it. The UFC's fight ended in a split draw. It's just not a good feeling.
I think it would be way more interesting for commentary. Think about commentary.
Yeah.
Let's say at the end of the first round, you go, whoa, this judge is scoring it this way. Then you can at least have something to talk about. You're not guessing.
Exactly.
The whole commentary of fighting, if it's a fight that's going to the judges, is just guessing. You have in boxing, this is my scorecard. This is my scorecard. What's on your scorecard? But it means nothing. So, again, it's like one of those unknown. Everyone's just playing a guessing game instead of talking about what the score is and saying, "Oh, this judge maybe scored it because of this. So this is what we're going to get tonight. This is going to be looking for this." Then as the fight goes on, you can start to anticipate the way the round goes. Then the cornerman can say, "We got to change our strategy because this is how they're playing." You know what I mean? Like,
and to me, it frees up commentary to actually give the fans at home more, I guess, not just like, oh, here's guesswork on what we think the judges are scoring, but here's how this guy can come back. Here's what he has to do to
10 rounds in. We think this guy's winning.
Yeah.
What is that? We think Canelo's winning. Maybe Triple G. We'll see at the end.
We'll see what happens. But you know what? You know why that you're going to never hear promoters say anything like, we don't want open scoring, we don't want open scoring, is because, and I'm not saying that this is, boxing had a real problem with it for a long time and promotion being involved with commission decisions, but it does give that air of airtight, sealed. There is no way that this is not going to go the way you think or want it to go. It's going to go the way it should every single time. That is what, especially in boxing, I'm not saying in MMA this is the way it works, but that is probably what gives these promoters a little trepidation about, oh, hold on a second. What if this thing's close and we need our guy, you know what I'm saying? We need our guy to pull through here because our money is in this guy. I mean, listen, we know that Canelo has been on the receiving end of some favorable decisions. Triple G fight to be one of them. So
yeah, it ruins the purity of the sport of winning.
Yeah, like Jared Gordon last night won that fight. Like there's no question he won that fight.
But he gets an L on his record.
He gets an L on his record. He doesn't go home with half of his pay. Let's not forget that in the UFC we have show money and we have win money. You know what I mean? And because of something that's out of his control, he did everything he was supposed to do. I don't care if he didn't go and smash Paddy in the third round and give Paddy a chance to fucking come back and knock him out cold. He did what he was supposed to do, and he lost because our judging system's flawed, and the fighters have no idea.
I'll say this: imagine playing basketball. You shoot a hoop and it goes in, and you're like, I wonder if they're going to score it or not.
Yeah. I wonder if that shot was pure enough to be.
I know I made 3, but I wonder if they're going to give me the credit for all 3.
Right.
You know? I'll say this. You talked about Paddy being the top and his ability. I'll say this. For me, if an MMA, and I agreed, and I knew Paddy was good at his grappling is good, but the days of like
really
somebody being
didn't show any of it.
No, the days of the guys being like super well rounded, and then being that guy, I think are over. I think you have to be a specialist. I've
been saying this. People
Everybody
are like, specialists don't exist
specialist.
anymore. I'm like, the specialists are the best in the sport now.
And we knew, and one of my instructors actually, Guru Guy Chase, talked about it years ago. He said when this was like when Randy and Chuck and GSP were coming up and Matt Hughes.
Yep.
When these guys were coming up, and he said, when the specialists catch up, once they can figure out how to stop a takedown, when you get a guy who has a sharp, the boxer or the kickboxer or the taekwondo guy, when these guys start figuring out the MMA game, the wrestlers game, pretty much because the wrestlers took over and they still are dominating, but because you're getting super specialists in wrestling, you're getting guys like Henry Cejudo, Bo Nickel, right, coming in.
God, when
that
Bo
could be
Nickel
these
gets some
guys.
experience, bro. Jesus.
Right. Well, that's the thing. So, like, look at Islam. Like, even like Wonder Boy can hang around
Islam,
because
Habib.
he's figured out how to wrestle.
Yes.
The guys at the top of the game, specialist, and then they just figure out how to protect themselves in the weak areas.
Yep.
And then you get specialists to match up, and then to me, so Paddy to me wasn't like Connor when he went to 55. He was a specialist. Everything he did was pretty good, but that left hand, one of a kind,
Touch of
right?
death,
So you
bro.
get all this, you get everything else, then boom, he had that one thing. Without that, Connor's not Connor. So he goes up a weight class. That left hand doesn't land the same way with everybody. It's a little different. So Paddy's not a guy where you look like a Bo Nickel coming in. It's like super special, especially in today's game. Kids are growing up playing. People are doing MMA sooner. They're growing up doing jiu-jitsu as long with their wrestling. It's not the same anymore. So you have to be. To me,
You
it's
have
going
to have one thing. You have to have one thing.
And I'm really looking forward to it because I'm. They can quote me now like a little Gary Vee when he said something like 5, 6, 10 years in advance, where you're going to see like the best boxer in the world be able to make the switch because of MMA. So like boxers back then or even now didn't grow up wrestling. So boxers are going to grow up wrestling, doing jiu-jitsu. They're going to know how to kick. People are just going to be able to do everything else. So the specialists of the world, like look at Holly Holm, people are going to be able to come over from different disciplines. Wonder Boy, Israel, we're already seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, Pereira
But in the
just
future,
ran
it's just-
through. Pereira just came into the UFC, kickboxing specialist, and said, "Cool, hold my beer. Here's 3 fights. I'm the champ." Now, there's some matchups at 85 that are going to give Pereira problems. There, some of the grapplers at 85. Like
Yeah, of course.
if you tossed Bo Nickel in him, this is going to sound like crazy, but if you tossed him Bo Nickel right now, Bo would give him problems. If Bo could get to him, he'd give him problems.
It's like we're weirdly getting back to
It's
where
going
the UFC
back.
started.
Yeah, I know.
Because it evens out and it's sick. But I think that's going to be the highest. I think specialists are going to be the thing because once it evens out, because jiu-jitsu was a specialist, that's how it's been. Wrestling that's how it's always been. But man, I'm excited.
I got an idea for a video that we're going to do right now too, so we're going to hold on to that one. But comments, let us know down below what is wrong with MMA judging, and if you know what's wrong, how do we fix it? Because I'm sick of this. Our fighters deserve better. The cards deserve better, and the fans, quite frankly, deserve better. So
100.
let us know, guys. How do we fix MMA judging? How do we fix combat sports judging? Let us know.
I'm